Hi, I've had several people ask me to do a tutorial on how I use a laminating technique to make the covers of my albums. So that's what I'm going to do. What I do is I find my double-sided pattern paper that I want to use for my cover. Now I use double-sided pattern paper because it's thicker. You can use single-sided paper, it'll work as well. I just like the thickness of the double-sided paper. And what I do with that paper is I cut it to the size that I want. In this case I'm using 6 by 12 approximately. And you see I have two pieces of it. They're both the same paper. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same paper. I could use something different on the other side. But for this tutorial I'm just going to use the same pattern paper. And then I have a core of cardboard. Now I have tried different thicknesses of cardboard. Even with the deep cut blade on a Cricut machine, you have a problem with that. It doesn't always cut all the way through no matter how many times you repeat it. Also, you may have a problem with it shifting on your cutting mat. It depends on how old the cutting mat is, how much stickiness is left on it, all that kind of thing. Apparently a Cricut is supposed to be able to cut through a piece of cardboard about the size that you would have in a cereal box. But what I have found that I like better is I have a lot of this scrap photoglossy paper. I have a wide format printer that will print on 13 by 19 inch photoglossy paper. Stay tuned, I'm going to make a video of my studio so you can see the equipment that I have. And this basically is a leftover piece because I'm doing 12 by 12, so I have about a 6-inch piece left over, well, 6 inches wide, when I chop down the 12 by 12 scrapbook pages. So I save these, and I find they work really well as the core to my laminated cover sheet. So what I do is I run the pattern paper through a Xyron. Now, if you're not familiar with a Xyron is a machine that allows you to put sticky backing on pretty much about anything. They make these to make stickers. They come in various sizes, to a little tiny one for stickers, a bigger one for bigger things, and then this giant guy who does about 9 inches wide. This is an older model because I've had this for quite a few years. One of my favorite tools. And I think the new ones are different color, but same principle. Basically, you slide whatever you're going to laminate through the back, turn the handle, it comes out and it puts it on a sheet. There's usually a plastic covering on this. You peel it away from it, and then when you peel this off, it's sticky underneath. I'm not going to show you how it goes through the Xyron. I've already pre-done that. So once it's gone through the Xyron, I simply take one side, peel it off, lay it down, get rid of that, and try to line up my cardboard core as straight as I possibly can onto this and smooth it down. Then I just peel off the other piece and do the same thing, but I flip this over. Now you notice I'm not getting this exactly lined up. I've got some white space here. My core was a little longer than the pattern paper, but that's okay because when I put it through the Cricut, I will account for that. So now that I've got this ready, this is my laminate. So you can see this is much more substantial than just by a single piece of paper or whatever. So what do I do next? Okay, get out my Cricut cutting mat, lay this down. I like to use a fairly new one so that it sticks properly. Take my little tool here. Let's spread this all down, flatten it out so it's got a good stick to it. Okay, and then we're going to feed it into the Cricut. Now I actually own two Cricut machines. This is my smaller one of the two, and it's actually the one I use the most. Because usually I try to keep my albums like 6 by 6, 8 by 8, that kind of size. But if I was to make a bigger album, I'd use my machine that can handle the 12 by 12. Same process. Alright, so I have that in my Cricut. Now if I just turn you over here for a second, you can see my computer screen. Yes, my Cricut is hooked into my computer. This is the mini Cricut. It doesn't have a keyboard panel on it. It was the first machine that I bought. and it comes with this software package, which I'm showing you here. And I've already picked out the cut that I'm going to use from Elegant Edges, and I'm just going to cut it. Now, to set this up, I'll just get out my mouse, which has fallen off my counter while I was doing this. And I'm just going to go to cut mode, and I'm going to set it, as far as speed is concerned, just down to 4, but I want this to cut several times. Now I have installed the deep cut blade, which helps, but I really find if you go over it several times, you'll get a much cleaner cut. And I'm actually going to do this 5 times. And hit cut. And away it goes. So that's making its first cut around. But I like it to go around several times because I make sure I get a nice clean cut and it comes off the pad in one piece. So we'll just sit here and watch this go. I really love my Cricut machines. I'm a digital scrapbooker, and that means I use my computer a lot. I started out as a traditional scrapbooker, and for years, friends of mine got Cricuts and were telling me about them and how they love them, but I thought, I'll never use it because I'm a digital scrapbooker. I don't need to cut out dies and things like that. Well, I finally broke down and bought this machine, loved it so much that I went out and I bought the larger machine, and I use it almost every day. Okay, so we've gone around, done the cut. Let's reject it. Let's take it out. Reject it sounds bad. And let's peel it off, and I hope it cut, and it did. Nice clean cut. Pull this off here, and there you have it. That's all there is to it. So there, I have a cover for a book. I use the same pattern paper on both sides, but I could use something different with this. I could use this. It didn't cut all the way through. Got a little bit of residue on here, but that's okay. I'll just take my scissors afterwards and trim that. And you can see, and if you can see, because I think I'm out of the shot. Yeah, I am. Okay, so you can see, nice and thick. If you don't like the white showing on the core, I just have to go over it with either one of Tim Holtz's Distress ink pens or just an ink pad along the edges just to color that in a little bit and maybe to distress it a bit. So that's all there is to it. My laminated technique for making journal or album covers.